This is John for Global Traveler. Today, I'm happy to be talking travel with ace photographer, director of photography for AU Sports, Jade Hewitt. How are you, Jade?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's always good to talk to you. To talk to you for years. We usually talk about sports, particularly Athletes Unlimited. We're going to. We're also going to talk a little travel, but let's hit the really fun sports stuff first. As director of photography for Athletes Unlimited, you cover softball, basketball, volleyball, lacrosse. For those that don't know, it's generally played in one location. Each sport is played in one separate location, same players for four teams. How do you keep creatively coming up with photos rather than just, there's the pitcher throwing the ball?
That is actually a really good question, because I feel like every season you kind of have like an existential crisis. Like you go back to Rosemont and it's like home, but you're also like, I've been shooting that field for 10 years now. And so every season, my goal is, and it actually sounds really simple, but my goal is to take a photo that I've never taken before. Um, because you definitely can get into like we kind of call it like ground day, like Groundhog Day, that old movie where it's like
Yeah.
same repetition, the same kind of everything. So normally I try and take one new photo a season, and that really challenges me to like go to the spots I don't go to or use a lens I don't really use that often. But it's tough. It can you normally like in week three of season where you kind of are like, I don't know what day it is. Yeah, those are the times it can be a little tough.
Which one is the toughest? Which of the four sports for you to handle?
Volleyball, 100% without hesitation. It is a lot of people in a small space with not a lot of light because you're indoors.
Sure.
And you know me, I'm a softball girl. I barely know which way is up in volleyball. So like I don't really know where they're going. And I mean now after shooting it for 4 years, I have definitely a better sense than back on day one. But volleyball it's tough for everyone. Photo, video, it's a rough one.
Now, next year, Athletes Unlimited has already announced they have a new softball league coming up. It's going to be played under traditional rules. Do you know anything else about it? Do you know any of the cities? Do you know any specifics?
I wish I
Future
had all
release?
the deets that I could spill and just light the softball world up. No, but it's I think right now it feels like we're more of just in that stage of excitement and that like the world is open to us, like we can starting something from step one just really provides you like such a wonderful feeling of just like we can do anything. Now I'm only the photographer. I'm not, Kimming or something out here. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of excitement. We're gonna be at NFCA in a couple of weeks, and that's gonna be really fun. So just, I'm waiting on all the details like the rest of America is, but very excited.
Well, I'm sure it's going to involve more travel because they have said, I'm not sure if it was four to six teams and they're going to be in different cities. So that at least should open up some new adventures for you in terms of travel and photography.
Exactly. Look, my dad's always like, with Athletes Unlimited, you have like the good life because you're in one spot, you don't have to move. And I'm like, man, back in those NPF days, I mean, you're in a different airport every 4 or 5 days, and I'm like, man, now I'm a little older these days. It's not as fun to be walking around airports, but yeah, definitely some more travel involved.
Well, speaking of travel, I followed you on social media. I know you travel a lot of places. When you're at those places, when you're traveling, are you able to turn off your photographer mind and like just take a random picture, just that you, me and my friends?
Um, I definitely try to, or if I'm out with a group of friends in a spot, like it's kind of I like the responsibility of like capturing the adventure kind of for everybody because I have some friends that they're like the cutest little couple and they like never take a photo. So I'm like, guys, come on, like let's do this. So yeah, but it's hard to turn off the photo side. I mean, I go to one national park a year, and it's the whole point is to take photos. So I don't know if I'll ever quite be able to turn that side of my brain off, no matter how much I try.
Well, as a photographer and as someone who has traveled a lot, like what is your suggestion? I go to let's just say I go to a national park like that, and I want to just capture the park or something. Like what advice would you tell me?
Probably take a camera and a lens that you feel the most comfortable with and that gives you the most options. Rather than if you go hike, if you go to a national park and you bring some giant lens, that's really great, but it doesn't really afford you taking pictures of your friends or you or whatever. So keep it simple, keep it really simple, and just keep your eyes open for what like you find your own natural beauty. Everyone thinks different things look really great. And so don't just go with the crowds just because they're all going somewhere. If that's where you want to go, go, but just keep your eyes peeled for whatever you find awesome.
What would be some of your favorite spots where you've taken pictures?
Outside of sports?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah.
sports I know where they'd be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just went to Glacier National Park back in September, and I've been to Yosemite, the Smokies, Kings Canyon, Zion, Sequoia. I've been to a bunch of these national parks, and Glacier was by far the most beautiful place I've ever been. Hiking was great, the views were great. I mean, it was just stunning. We went to this one hike that overlooked this gorgeous lake, and it's kind of one of those like aqua lakes.
Oh.
And now, I'm from Louisiana. We don't have elevation. It's not a thing. So when I can go somewhere and really be up in the mountains and, that kind of stuff, that's what I was annoying my girlfriend so bad. I kept, look, it's a lake. And she was like, stop talking. So yeah, that was probably one of my favorite spots. I think it was called Hidden Glacier Overlook. So
And when you go into a place like that, you know you're going to take pictures. Are you the person that takes like 1,000 pictures and then goes home and kind of sorts through them, or do you kind of just, focus your eye and try to get like, the best handful I can get?
that's a great question. If I was traveling alone, I would take 20,000 photos on a hike. But when I'm traveling with someone like my partner who's like, let's go, like stop stopping, she kind of makes me rein it in because she gets annoyed with me. I don't blame her. So but normally on a hike, I'll take maybe 800, come back and sift through those, and that'll kind of normally be around 10 to 15, maybe 20. So I try not to do too much, but that's tough when you're on a national park. It's hard.
So you said you go to one national park every year. Um, do you have a plan yet for 2025?
We're thinking the Pacific Northwest. There's like three national parks way up there. So we're thinking we might do a little loop with those three national parks. And then we're also eyeing Banff for like a short weekend. Banff is pretty stunning, as I've seen just on social media. And some of our athletes went to Banff. So yeah, Banff and the Pacific Northwest are what's on the docket, but our list is we'll be traveling for the next 150 years with our
Well,
list.
that was my next question. Are there any like top two or three that are on your bucket list, for lack of a better term or overused term?
Man, that's tough. Yosemite was my all-time bucket list. So doing that one was pretty great. I'd love to go to Scotland and Ireland. I've always wanted to go there. And then I think it's North Cascades National Park is like people say it's actually the most beautiful national park. So that's probably on the list as well.
No, as a photographer, does the use of AI, does that bother you? Because it kind of unfairly minimizes your talent.
Yeah, it's kind of at the point where it only really slightly it only really bugs me in the art world, not just photography, but in the art world, like morally somewhat. It's not yet at the point where I'm competing against AI for a job. That could be in the near future or in the kind of mid to distant future. But right now I come from an art background and that's what I went to school for. So I still very heavily follow the art community and watching how AI is interacting in the art community is really fascinating. And I mean, there's definitely arguments on both sides and you can see points from both sides, but yeah, I feel like with my generation we're going to maybe struggle with AI a little bit more than kids that are in high school or college right now who are using AI in brilliant ways for their own terms, but in the art world it can be a little dicey.
Will you ever put together a photo book of either sports or your travels?
You know, I've kind of been dabbling in that. And I did not quite realize the under I mean, it's a big thing, but it's really an undertaking.
Oh yeah.
So the answer would be yes, hopefully on the sooner side rather than the later side.
Are you leaning towards, if you're willing to give the scoop, are you leaning more towards the sports, more towards the travel, or maybe both?
Oh, it would be sports. It would be AU, it's I no one cares about my Glacier National Park photos. It would definitely be something sports related or Athletes Unlimited, heavy or completely Athletes Unlimited where, it's a little bit of it's not just the images, it's the storytelling that complements those and goes along with those, and can kind of tell the story of Athletes Unlimited. So hopefully that's also in the not too distant future.
And when you're traveling, aside from your equipment, aside from your necessary equipment, what are one or two must-haves for Jade Hewitt?
Oh man. The the blocks, the chews, I don't know if you've seen those. They sell them at like REI or probably like most stores, but they're just like electrolyte, kind of like carbs,
Oh
and you
yeah, 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 yeah.
blocks. Those little chews normally on about the first third of the hike, we'll kind of pop a couple of those, and they're pretty awesome. You kind of might think they're candy if you're like, I should not eat 6 packs of these. They have a purpose. So I would say that, and then. Look, I know it's geeky, but that phone holster that I always wear, that I talk about all the time, that's like the best accessory really for anything. You airports, travel, I mean, everything. So, yeah, I'd say those two, other than my camera gear.
Okay. I run in your bio because I do a little bit of research. Frozen yogurt's your thing. What is your either your favorite flavor right now or like your favorite all-time flavor? And is there a go-to spot?
If I see pinkberry, I don't know if you've had pinkberry
I
frozen
have.
yogurt. I don't know why I became obsessed with it when I was younger. If I'm like at an airport and it's 6 a.m., I will get pinkberry. I don't get it as much as I used to, but I'm like an original tart, chocolate chips. I keep it simple. I don't get too crazy with it, but I am such a sucker for frozen yogurt. It's not healthy.
Well, this one's just for me because I live here. I know you're familiar with Rosemont. Is there any yogurt spots in the area that you would throw out because I'm hungry?
Not that I can think of. However, the dessert place, Michoacana, La Michoacana, they have them everywhere here in Chicago. Or I think they actually, I mean, they're probably all over the country. They're everywhere, but they make those paletas, which are, I don't know if you've ever had a paleta before, but it's like if you took ice cream and yogurt and they like mix together,
Oh,
but it's on a stick, but it's like
oh,
it's way better than anything you've ever had. If you next time I see you in Rosemont after the game, we're going to get a paleta. They're the best things ever. Next time you see one, you got to get one.
oh, I'm in. I'm in. Before I let you go, one of the coolest things I ever see you do is before the game. Obviously, you're a photographer. You're not a player. You do as much for growing the game of softball and sports as anybody. And I see you out there before the game handing out packs of cards to the little girls, and I see their face, and actually some of the old guys too. Like, what does it mean to you to not only to hand those cards to the little kids, but also to know that your work is on a Topps card?
Yeah, I really appreciate you noticing that. That's one of the most fun things that I get to do with my job. It's the most special feeling ever. And normally like when I'm talking to those little girls, like it's about 50-50. Sometimes they know what the cards are, and sometimes their dad is like, come on, we've talked about this. I've showed you my cards. Like the dad is like frantically or trying to like get the kid to like know what's going on. But it's amazing. It means the world to me. Honestly, that little girl will not remember me, but she's gonna remember looking at a card with Sam Fisher on it or Megan Frame or Sierra Romero. And that's she's gonna grow up with those cards thrown on her dresser in her closet, and the fact that they're women, and that she has these people to look up to, whether it's she sees them every day or she just knows that she has these cards. Either way, it's amazing, and it's so special, and it's really fun because our softball athletes especially, they know the gravity of what it means to be on a card. And that's just because of the nature of the sport.
Yeah.
Tops is traditionally more of a baseball kind of thing. Um, but it's so much fun. And I've had countless little girls or just, fans in general be like, "Hey, can you autograph one of the
Oh,
cards or something?" And it's always just, it's such a great feeling to know that, we photographers, our work is so heavily put on social media and that's how people interact. But to see something in print and someone to be able that acknowledges like, "Hey, here's this thing I'm holding," it's pretty special. And it'll always be one of the things I'm most proud of in my career is being able to have that tops experience and pass it on to, those young ones. I've got an obscene amount of tops cards at home. You would think I'm running like a warehouse of tops cards, just however many have accumulated over the years. But very, very cool.
well, the next natural question is when is Jade Hewitt getting a Topps card?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm not sure you could persuade anyone to put me on a card over, another photo of Sydney Romero,
Well,
so
you don't have to replace somebody. They just add one more card to the set. You
next
know,
time we have a meeting with the company, I'm gonna roll this clip and I'll slip that in there.
there you go. Hey, that you've got a bunch of fans out there. You got Chris, Tony, me. We'd be, getting that card signed.
So funny.
Jade, thank you so much for your time. Before I let you go, tell everybody where they can get more information about you. I know you're very, very open to giving photography. I know how to speak photography help, especially to the young kids, especially to the young girls. But tell everybody where they could find more about you.
Yeah, I'm Jade Hewitt Media on Instagram and Twitter. My website's just jadehewittmedia.com. But I mean, I get tons and tons of DMs on usually it's on Instagram from young shooters or girls that are in college or right out of college. And it's a variety. If you've got questions about gear or your resume or portfolio or advice or whatever the case may be, my email is open, my DMs are open, and yeah, I really love those interactions for sure.
Well, Jay, it's always fun to see you at the ballpark. It's going to be more fun next year because there's going to be two different seasons. That's for,
Yeah,
and I'm
right.
sure, I know it's not official, but I'm sure the new season has to go through Chicago sometime. So
Sometime.
at least I'm praying. But it's always good to talk to you. And today was a lot of fun to talk travel and photography. I thank you for your time. I encourage everyone to check out Jade Hewitt Media. If I wasn't doing this for Global Traveler, I'd have my Jade Hewitt Media t-shirt on. I support you and I thank you for all you do for, especially for young girls and growing the sports. So thank
Well,
you.
look, I have to say, before you hit the end button right back at you, there's a core group of people that are supporting women's sports constantly, that are at the games as much as they can, and you are one of those. There's a familiar faces at the games, and you're always someone that we count on. That's always there and that shows up for us, and the women's sports community greatly appreciates it, and it's awesome when you're out there.
Well, we,
I
we
get
are
to
in,
talk to you more on this than I do at the games.
well,
Normally
yeah,
it's
because
like,
you're always
hey,
busy, but
exactly.
we grab a selfie. But this is a
Exactly.
mutual admiration society, so we appreciate each other. And with that, have a great holiday season and enjoy your brief time off of work.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Thanks, Jake. Take care.